Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast. This is a special episode of Capes, which is our comic book centric show. My name is Kiona. I am your host. And my special guest today is Ryan Little. He is the author of Super Scouts and many other comics. So, how's it going today, Ryan?
Good, Kiona. Thanks for talking to me.
All right, awesome. So, I have some questions prepared for you. So, I'm just going to go ahead and start there, and then we can see where the conversation goes from there. So, first up, I'd like to know, what was the genesis of the Super Scouts idea? Like, where did you get this idea? What inspired you? And are you a fan of Super Sentai shows? And did you watch them kind of growing up?
Sure. So I'll kind of answer them both sort of at the same time.
Sure.
I've written several different titles, a bunch of different
Mhm.
comics and things. And some of them I know exactly where they came from, and some of them they were nowhere. Now they're just kind of in my life. Super Scouts is a book I very, very vividly know the exact moment I thought of it.
Awesome.
I was working on season 1 of Daredevil that while it was shooting in New York City. I was living in Brooklyn, and it was like a really, really crazy busy day. I had like a ton of paperwork and stuff, and I said, "All right, they want me to go get the actors coffee. You know what? I'm going to pretend the line was long. I'm going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to sit on a bench." And I knew I was a writer at that point. I said, I'm going to write something awesome. I'm going to take 10 minutes for me and just think of something cool. And so I opened my little notebook. I was like, what's the coolest, most fun thing I could want to write about right now? I was like, you know what? I think Power Rangers are awesome. And it just immediately, I outlined like probably 5 to 10 story beats. I said, I knew I wanted to do a Power Rangers story, but like, a Super Sentai story, I should say, to be fair to the genre.
Mhm.
That wasn't dark, but that was grounded, but it was also fun. So I came up with, in that moment, 5 to 10 story beats, or basic like plot move ideas, and all of them ended up in the book. That included the opening scene, and it included the finale. So the first panel and the
Oh,
last
that's
panel
awesome.
I've known since like day one, minute one, since it existed in my mind. So that was back in like 2015, funny enough. No,
Mhm.
2014.
Mhm.
And then I wrote the whole script, and then I put it in a drawer because I said, whoever draws this book is going to have to be someone that knows and loves Sentai and Toketsu and all that great stuff, because
Yes.
they got to be able to do not just one set of costumes, but they got to be in the suits, out of suit upgrade, mirror mats, Zords. Like that's a lot of work for an independent artist on an indie comic like this.
Uh-huh.
Um, so after that, I started into the genre more, like trying to reference more things, looking at more stuff than just our basic sort of the American stuff I grew up loving, as a '90s kid.
Mhm.
And then a friend of mine in 2017 I mentioned, like, I'm still always looking for an artist for this Power Rangers thing. He's like, you got to talk to Bruno. So I emailed with Bruno. Bruno is the nicest, happiest, most lovely person I've ever worked with. Sorry, everybody else. Bruno's great. But I was like, hey, it's his Power Rangers book. I'll be honest though, it's a lot of it's costumes, it's weapons, it's motorcycles, like all the stuff. And
Mhm.
he's like,
Mhm.
oh well, is it more like Chargemen or Flashmen? And he like immediately went through like more Super Sentai history than like I could have possibly asked for. So he's the perfect guy. So I grew up with definitely the grounded American stuff. I was actually very partial to Beetleborgs and VR Troopers myself, as far as kind of Toketsu stuff
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
But then I've had so much fun now. This is our third issue on Kickstarter over the last year, like really exploring the genre more, especially now so much of it's available. Like I watched all of Die Ranger. Now I'm like really exploring the Kamen Rider universe and all these different things.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's funny. As we're wrapping up volume 1, I'm kind of renewing my vows with Super Sentai in a funny way and getting ready to launch volume 2.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Bruno's work. Let's talk about him a little bit because I want to know, like, where did you guys connect? Where did you meet each other? Was it just through like email or
Yeah,
in
so he's
person?
based in Brazil. I'm currently based normally out of Los Angeles, California. Currently living on the East Coast. What's up, East Coast? Because we're all working remotely because of the
Yep.
pandemic.
Yep.
But Bruno, God, he's so talented. He brings so much emotion and character to the script. Because while I think it was after we started working together that Boom did its relaunch, and even
Yes.
then, which that Boom book, quite frankly, is about as good as I think a Power Rangers comic can be. Like that's everything I would want out of a mainstream Power Rangers comic. I think Kyle Higgins is great. I think the art's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
All the
It's really
events, all the plot choices.
it's good.
So fortunately, I started working with Bruno, and I said, we got to do something that feels like a little different. Like, what is the version of this that's going to feel? So that's why I think it stays grounded. The characters, the emotions, those moments. I think he can do all that
Mhm.
stuff really well. I think his comedy is really great, like all the weird faces they make and the exaggerations.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, what are some of our big over the top moments in issue 3 that come back around again? But it's been the whole time. It's really been a game of sort of throwing influence at him, because there's a funny thing about trying to do any Super Sentai thing that if you do it right, okay, you see the helmet, you see the jumpsuit, yeah, that's like a Power Ranger suit. But
Hmm.
what makes it distinctive, but also feel sort of like an homage at the same time? That we were always kind of playing this game that we always said it's an homage first, then a parody. That there are some comedy elements that rip on the tropes in the genre, but
Hmm.
first and foremost, it's about them finding the power, loving the power, being excited about it, and using it in ways that kind of fulfill them and help them sort of achieve their truest self. So I think Bruno, as we worked through the book, right away we kind of got into it really quick. The color palette, the designs we locked pretty quick. But then the rest of the time, as we morphed them in and out of suits, the more we added upgrades and stuff like that, it's been about, okay, how do we make this feel like an homage first, then a parody? That's kind of been our working idea.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. I just want to mention his full name here so that people know. It's Bruno Oliveira. He is quite a fantastic artist. This is the first work that I've seen by him, and I was very impressed, actually. Yeah, like you said, his facial expressions are really good. Just the way that he came up with those designs are really cool. Including all the can I say mecha? Can I say that? I don't know
Yeah.
if I want to say that because that kind of gives something away. But anyway,
I
there's
mean, if you're
mechs in
reading this
this
book,
thing. I mean,
it's
come on,
coming.
you know what's
Yeah.
coming. Yeah. So did he also do the colors for the book as well?
Yep. One man band. He does it
Wow,
all.
that's
Nothing but
amazing.
letters. Yeah. He's
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah, he's
That's
a great
especially,
artist. My gosh.
yeah. And he knows how to, I mean, he really has a very painterly style, which is like really
He
cool. I
does.
think that's why, um, some of these big, some of the big wide scenes, they feel kind of big and kooky because of all the crazy like karate they're doing and stuff like that. But
Yes,
yeah, the
yes.
way his color choices and his paint choices, it's funny because it really, that painterly style really ties into kind of the drama slash melodrama of it all. That when they,
Yeah.
when the alarms go off and Lord Darkness has arrived, he can do these beautiful violet tones, kind of as they experience the dark night of their soul. But at the same time, when they're,
Hmm.
riding on action bikes with oversized swords kind of at their hip, he can also do the pops of oranges and some of these really vibrant pastels that I
Yeah.
think feel much different than any any of the Boom stuff ever felt.
Yes, yes. And I love like those big moments where, the characters will just say something really incredibly like, Power Rangers y kind of goofy sounding. And then he has those backgrounds that just kind of pop. It's just amazing. So he did a really good job on the art. Um,
Totally.
Let me see here. So let me ask you here, and I know this is like picking the favorites among your babies here, but do you have a favorite among your characters in this book? Do you have a favorite Super Scout?
It's so tough. It's a good question. It's funny because it almost changes kind of every time I read it, or more every time I put an issue out, because they're spaced out just far enough that as life keeps growing and changing. I
Yeah.
love Willie. I really like Willie a lot. Willie, for anyone who doesn't know, so Super Scouts in general, for anyone that doesn't know, it's sort of a Power Rangers homage and parody by way of sort of the Galaxy Quest story model. So
Mhm.
in this world, there was this super popular Super Sentai show called Super Scouts. 20 years later, we meet all the different actors, and they've all sort of gone their separate ways and had, varying levels of success. And then one day, the kind of diehard fanboy among them finds out that all their adventures were based on real intergalactic wars, that all the power is out there and it's true, and that their fictional nemesis, Lord Darkness, is in fact coming to Earth to exact revenge on them. So he has to get the cast back together, help them unlock their Super Scout powers in time to save the universe. So Willie was a child actor on the show. We meet him when he's in his kind of late 20s, and now he's this giant hulking kind of Terry Crews person.
Yeah.
And he sort of stands for I love him because it's that purest version of, he just loves it for the sake of what it is. That the powers mean the most to him.
Yeah.
His sort of dark story is that he because as a child actor, it was so formative. He's like, I really do think there's a magic and a mysticism to this. So he started what he called a self-help group called Scoutology, that may or may not be a cult, depending on your opinion of it. But then in the series, in these 3 issues, we find out he was right. It really was a cosmic power.
Yeah.
But what I love about it, I try not to ding other things, but it's a genre that is so fun and it's so warm and it's so vibrant. It's flips and explosions and suits and fun. And I think
Hmm.
he's the
Hmm.
guy that can just love it for what it is. You know, like you were saying, like sometimes they're just gonna say, "Bring the rain" or some kind of like crazy,
Yes,
melodramatic,
yes.
over the top. And if you're a person that's ever loved this stuff, like that little voice is always in you somewhere.
Hmm.
That when you're even there's a little part of me that anytime I'm walking to work as a 30-year-old man when it's raining and I'm like, ooh, my adversary stepped out from that doorway just across from me. Like
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
I'm always a breath away from like a Kingdom Hearts fight scene or something like
You
that.
got the inner monologue going and everything.
Truly, 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 that Willie's a character that little voice that's in all of us nerds is his
Yes.
actual voice and it's his loudest one.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's so fun. So he's
That
my favorite right now.
I think I would have chosen the same person because I think that Willie definitely speaks to that kind of pure love, like you say, and that kind of like he just acts upon it and doesn't really overthink it. Whereas a lot of the other characters seem to like, like Seth, for example. Seth is kind of like he was like the Red Ranger of the group. He was like the leader. And for me, the impression that I got from him was that he missed it, and it was sort of something that like was maybe he had a little bit of complicated feelings about what he did on the show, or
Sure.
or like he kind of like he regrets maybe some things. I don't know, that's just the sense that I got from him.
No, you're spot on. Did I make the most of it? Did I enjoy it as much as I should have?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
it's kind of my best moments maybe passed me by. How do I reconcile that?
yeah, that spoke to me as a reader because I feel that way about my life sometimes. I look back and
Sure,
I think like, oh man, did I maybe I didn't do enough, or maybe I just didn't feel that moment wasn't present enough for that moment.
sure.
um
Well said.
Meredith is another character that's interesting to me because she's kind of the quiet sort of introvert of the group, which
Sure.
again is something that I relate to because and she's another one that has sort of a complicated relationship with the past. And I think I'm sort of drawn to those characters because, like I said, I feel that myself. So with her character, I just got a sense that like she was the quiet one, she was the one in the background, she was also the peacemaker, like she says, if there were problems on the set, she would kind of calm everybody down.
Hmm.
And that's very much who I kind of am. So in a way, I guess you could say Meredith was my favorite, sort of.
Cool. I mean, she's so fun. I think she's strong. I think that pink suit design that Bruno did is one of the best ones too. I really like her
Yeah.
suit a lot.
Yeah.
Funny enough, that it's another thing, that color palette that you get to do with these Super Scout or the Super
Yeah.
Sentai suits is stuff you're not normally playing with a normal book. Like Spider Gwen, they can only do kind of like hints of pink
Hmm.
inside her hood, whereas with Pink Ranger, you can just dip her in it. Like let it
Yeah.
rip. But yeah, it's been nice, kind of trying to make them feel like a friend circle, that they all had this shared experience, and they all kind of take their own things away from it.
Hmm.
Seth was, did I enjoy it enough? Should I have stuck with it longer? And Meredith is, did I leave at the right time? That they're all kind
Yeah.
of it, and it's an individual journey for each of them, and all of them realizing that it's a shared experience is kind of what brings them back together again. Because I think
Yes.
a lot of that looking back is something for us as people that can make us, because it's your history that can make you feel ownership over it and independent. But for these characters to get them realize that you're living this life with so many other people kind of surrounding you, so to reach out to each other and kind of form those bonds again.
Yeah.
It's kind of the fun of picking how we pair them up, sort of as the different adventures happen.
Absolutely. And then James, the Green Ranger, the Green Scout, I should say, the Green Scout. Um, he is, to me, he's kind of the jokester. He's kind of the guy who's like he's the wacky guy. And I
Totally.
love that about him. I love that about him. I love that he doesn't really like until the third issue, he doesn't really question where he's gone in his life. And then
Right.
maybe in the third issue, he kind of has that moment of like, oh man, I think I screwed up. But it's like him going on and making a parody of his own show is kind of hilarious. And also the fact that he was on the show for the longest out of all of them. So I'm assuming that like, I guess that like maybe the other actors got swapped out or something, but James stayed on.
Right. He was sort of the Tommy foil, that
Yeah.
even though he might not have exactly been an original one, when then we find out in issue 3
Right. Right.
what
Right.
made James so marketable that they were willing to keep him around for such a
Yes.
long time.
I love that, by
Um,
the way. It's a
yeah,
great
thank you.
line.
Um, but it's a funny game with this series, that like you kind of meet Seth and Meredith, and they seem, in some ways, I think, like the most well adjusted that James is this like all id, crazy outgoing
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Willie is this hyper regimented.
Yeah.
But then as it goes on, in some ways, which one of them is the most stable? Which one of them kind of played it right? Which one of them played it wrong?
Yeah.
And by the middle of issue 3, it's kind of hard to say, because Willie, it's creepy that he kind of started this cult, but also he found his truest self in a way that the other 3 of them don't figure out until late in this issue, or late in this first volume, in a funny way.
Yeah.
And James too sort of had that funny challenge that he knew where he wanted to be, but he got resentful of it instead of embracing it in the way that Seth or Meredith did. So trying to again make them feel like real people to a certain degree, but real people when they're having the real people moments, and then crazy intergalactic martial arts champions when they're having those the crazy action moments, to try to kind of have my cake and eat it too.
Oh yeah, I think it works. All right, so the designs, did you help Bruno come up with the designs, or is that all him, or did you guys kind of collaborate on that and sort of design the characters, including the villains?
Sure. So Bruno is just a hyper talented artist that, for me, it's just throwing clay onto that wheel for him to sculpt is kind of the process, I would say. So I would say the hardest, he figured out the characters really quickly. He has, actually, I'll send them to you. He has a great method where he read the script, super absorbed the script, and then he distilled each character to a single shape that he said, I think this shape represents their personality. So all their postures, the way they stand, the way they present themselves, all of it's built around that shape. So that's sort of the shape they always present. So he designed the 4 of them in their normal forms very quickly. The suits, again, were a tricky game because it's homage and parody. So you want to be able to look at it and say, okay, that's a Super Scout suit, but also it be distinctive enough. And, the tricky thing is there's so many different motifs, right? Like, they do ninjas and samurais and lions and cops, and like which kind of version do you want to, so I thought he found a very elegant kind of middle ground where there's a sort of elemental thing going on with each of them, that it's a little minimalist, it's a little understated, which I think is really cool too. Same as sort of it's funny, the suits and the helmets were actually 2 separate steps. It's figuring out because it seems like it was a really funny game. I mean, I had a blast just sitting around, tons and tons of reference art trying to figure out, what's the recipe for this? How do you reverse engineer all this stuff? And there's some of the really classic looking Sentai stuff. It's cohesive helmets amongst the team. If you think of obviously the Power Rangers one, they have their sort of animal represented. So we're sort of trying to figure out a through line of that. So I like the minimalist one, I think, because I didn't want anything to be super distracting, that I want to just be, okay, he's the red one. He's the, so Bruno found a way to actually change up their visor shape. Oh my gosh. I mean, fortunately, again, this book partially exists in a large part because the Super Sentai community is so awesome. There are so many like websites that have like grids of like 50 Green Ranger helmets laid out for you. So you could be like, okay, here's how the chin shapes and here's how the visor shapes. So we felt like the shape of that black lens and the visor was the clearest way to sort of delineate them between each other. And then he found a way to, again, to tie that visor shape and kind of the lines and the swoops of the lens into the swoops on their suits to kind of make it feel super cohesive. The villains are a whole other challenge.
Yeah.
Because they're a funny game. Especially, I mean, I had such a good time. Again, the Super Sentai community is so cool that like they track, oh, this is the chess piece from this guy from 200 episodes ago that they painted orange and added disco balls to, and now it's this guy. But it's definitely kind of playing that level. And at this point too, we really got into the monsters. The live action Power Rangers movie, the most recent one, had come out, so I kind of knew. What I didn't want to do, because it's the I have on my desktop right now for something I was working on. The villain who his body and head are shaped like a windmill, and his battle axe is a giant wooden clog.
That's
like
awesome.
just absurd, right? So the first villain we meet is named Tunnelingus, which is a mild, not safe for work.
That is so funny. I laughed so hard at that name when I first saw it. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe.
Thank you. Yeah, he's been a crowd favorite. He's getting his own short story. Actually, I'll give you an exclusive announcement. He will be getting his own short story in the graphic novel. Where's the real Tunnelingus, and
that's what we need.
Tunneling into. Yes,
that's what we need more of, is Tunnelingus. Anyway.
But Bruno nailed that one pretty quick. I sent him the motifs, but again, the reason, not only his talent made him the right artist for this, but he just really spoke that language already. So he's like, oh, he's of course he's like this like clunky like construction worker with drill hands for tunneling, right?
Yes.
Like of course.
Yes.
So the hardest villain design, the clay creatures, which are our putty patrollers, we did pretty quick.
Yeah.
The mirror match, and then the dark scouts were pretty easy. The hardest one truly after that was Lord Darkness,
Oh yeah.
who is our sort of our just pure evil entity.
Yeah.
And it was a funny game of trying to figure out, okay, so this is the real one that the monster in the show would have been based off of. So we it was a tricky game because, you know, the payoff, you want it to be this like kind of crazy, like, you know, Lord Zed or Rita Repulsa, kind of over the top monster, but at the same time, by the third issue, which we'll tread that spoiler line here, our scouts are becoming their version of scouts, and they almost represent this kind of like funny gentrified poppy earthly version of super scouts, and Lord Darkness is supposed to be the pure evil of the cosmic universe. So he kind of quite doesn't look like what we thought a monster would look like, but I think Bruno finds a really fun design. We had a lot of fun playing with size and scale in the final issue, is how I'll say it without kind of ruining it. That made for some really cool action panels, and I think again something that looks kind of like a different take on a final big Power Ranger fight in a way you might not have seen before.
Yes, I got that very much. Yeah, I'm looking at like Lord Darkness's first real appearance in issue 3, where he kind of comes up out of the ground and he's like they're off-roading idiots.
Yeah.
That line is so great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But
I like his design. I really do.
Yeah, I think he really nailed it. It's we had a lot of fun because especially at this point, I'd gotten more versed in some of the other Super Sentai stuff. So looking at which I grew up with, like, my parents really didn't let me watch like scary things, so I had an overactive imagination, which is why I'm such a good writer in retrospect.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get into horror until like my mid-20s, and then I fell in love with it.
Nice.
But going back and watching Die Ranger and all these things, I thought it was hysterical watching these original Japanese production, how much like crazy horror tropes and visuals they like, and like gothic and like strange. They made the villains like really creepy. It's really funny watching how they translated, like, this guy's supposed to be like the evil tofu man that like haunts these like restaurants, and the American one, he was like, it was Zach's uncle's possessed flute or trumpet. It was crazy. But trying to lean into him a little bit with some of that, because again, like, I mean, it looks like pseudo bondage imagery, and some of they're wearing these like classic Hot Topic, like heavy leather, big chain link rings and stuff like that. So you can see in Lord Darkness, I kind of just want him to be pure black fire because I think that's fun. But sort of his shape, you can kind of imagine it was sort of based off of some of those suits that like the Die Ranger villains or some of the more conventional Sentai villains would have been wearing.
He sort of reminds me a little bit of the Shadow King from like the old Uncanny X-Men comics.
Sure, totally.
Claremont era. Yeah, he's kind of got that like, kind of demonic appearance, and he's got like that gaping maw of a mouth kind of a thing. So
yeah.
It's cool. Cool.
Bruno said that specifically. You're smart to catch that. It is fun that long jaw looks like. It's such a horror thing. It's always unsettling.
Yeah, always. All right. So if, let's say, a hypothetical scenario here. Let's say that, like, if Boom Studios came over and they said, why don't we do a crossover with the Super Scouts and the Power Rangers? Would you do it?
Definitely. I would do it.
And who do you think would win that fight?
Oh, man, that is a great question. Are we saying this is the Super Scouts at the end of issue 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's say they've gone through all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Super Scouts have the leg, and I'm gonna say it because what makes them so effective against Lord Darkness, we'll see, is that they have very unconventional fighting tactics that are drawn from each of their unique and distinctive adult life experiences, we'll say, to put it politely and not spoil anything.
I would just like to see Seth just kind of get into a fight with like all the Rangers and just try to like talk them down and just be like, man, I know what you guys are feeling. I was there, and just be like, like he would totally just like, he would just psych them out, and that would be how he wins.
That's true. That crossover would almost be like an X-Men event because he's sort of the wise, grizzled Super Scout beyond his years. That's a great observation. Super well.
And then and Willie has that, like, he has, let's say, some added powers.
Yes. That's
he
very
definitely
fair.
taps into something. So I don't. Yeah, you know what? He might be the secret weapon actually that the scouts
Yeah,
have.
he's
I
the
think
heavy. He could be the Teen Gohan coming in and kind of up in the stakes.
definitely. My power level is over 9,000. But
See that little
okay.
voice, man? It's always in there, telling us those
Yep.
awesome things.
Man, who wouldn't want to go out there and just say that to people and then everybody just looks at you weird? Um, so let me switch gears a little bit and ask you about the Kickstarter campaign. So how have they been going so far? Because I see that issue 3 is already funded. So congratulations
Yeah,
on that, by the way.
thank you. No, I'm very lucky. We have a great fan base and really loyal, wonderful people getting us this far.
Yeah.
I got into indie comics been about 5 years now. That this is my 16th Kickstarter. All of them been
Wow.
successful. They've all 16 in a row. Yeah.
Awesome.
Again, just it's funny because I like to think of myself as a reformed cynic. I have my grumpy, kind of negative, pessimistic days. Um,
Oh, I do too.
and sometimes I say, has the internet been a good thing for the world or a bad thing for the world? It's
Same. I
very
say
hard to
that
say.
too all the time.
All right. But I feel very fortunate in life that I get to say indie comics, as much as I get to work with wonderful artists and make cool things, has really been like a real faith redeemer. That like there's such a great community out there that has embraced me, has embraced my work, has allowed me to keep. I think at this point I have 6 different titles I publish. That's
Awesome.
purely possible because people read it and people are willing to support independent art.
Yeah.
So this one's been going really well. We're fully funded. I don't like to do any kind of nonsense with my Kickstarters.
Mhm.
I always try to add pages instead of bookmarks or any junk like that. So this is
Mhm.
I think we're 46 pages. It's our biggest issue. I have them all printed here domestically in the United States.
Awesome.
So about a week after the Kickstarter ends, they get to my doorstep. And then I get them out the door to people. So usually I can turn them around within 3 to 4 weeks. COVID slowed it down a little bit, but
Yeah.
about 3 to 4 weeks still. So it's been great. It's really I see it purely as a tool to just put as much stuff into the universe as I can.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
We need more of it. We need more art. We need more creativity in the world. I feel like, especially now, it's just, we need something to give us hope. And I think that that's what independent comics do. And that's what movies do. And video games do that too. So,
well, my goal too is really having the freedom of Kickstarter is I can have a character named Tunnelingus that we don't have to worry about. Well, our 18-year-olds could be buying this book, and or our
yeah,
12-year-olds could be
yeah,
buying this book, and we have to freak
yeah.
out about it. It's like, I'm just gonna make it the biggest, coolest, whatever makes sense to me, and it's just put it out into the world. Just make
I
it kind of.
honestly, you know what? Maybe he's the secret weapon. Maybe we could just have like in that crossover, just have Tunnelingus all of a sudden appear, and the Power Rangers would just be like, "What's his name again?"
Yeah, I don't want to even touch that. Well, you can't beat him if you don't.
I'm confused.
Yeah, a little turned on, but also freaked
Yeah, and a
out.
little turn on. Yeah, exactly. All right. So you know what, you mentioned something earlier that I did kind of want to touch upon, which was that you were working on the Daredevil series for
Hmm.
Netflix.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was
you've
an
been
awesome
in the
assistant.
you've been kind of in the Marvel sort of system, at least for Marvel TV. And so what was your job on that set? What was that like?
Um, I can say it was a good experience. It was a gainful experience, and
Mhm.
that is about as far as I'm allowed to comment publicly.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it was awesome, and it was like the one story I will tell publicly is I got to watch them film the hallway fight, and it was one of the coolest
Oh,
experiences of my life.
dude.
Yeah, just incredible,
They
like
did
actual
like
movie magic.
they did like multiple hallway fights though, right? So was that like the season 1 hallway fight?
Yeah, I worked on season 1. I was there season 1 day 1, so I saw
Oh,
that
awesome.
original one when he goes to rescue the kid.
That was such an amazing fight sequence, man. That was just like, I could just see the pain that he was in as they were just going through that, and like just he was getting so like, oh man, it was like a war of attrition. It was great.
Truly.
Just yeah, amazing. All right. So moving on from that now. So you have so you said you have about 6 comics that you're publishing right now or that you're involved with?
I have 6 books. I think. Let's see. Super Scouts, Crude Knight, X-Men. Yeah, I have six that have come out. I'm very lucky. I have 12 that I'm collaborating on across. So I'm called Plastic Sword Press is my publishing imprint. You can find us
Oh,
on
cool.
Instagram at Plastic Sword Press. That's kind of the
Okay.
title I publish them all under.
Okay. All
So yeah,
right.
it's really just making, as much stuff because again, with anytime we go into stretch goals and overages, all that extra stuff I just put right back into greenlighting another series, adding more pages. That's where that there's a Tunnelingus backup story coming in our graphic novel for Super Scouts launching next year, and there's going to be a second
Awesome.
secret backup story that introduces our version of Kamen Rider, who is known as the Shining Strider, and what happened to him and where he came
Ooh.
from, and so some
Oh
very
my
cool art.
God.
very cool things kind of coming that way as we sort of branch out into the Toketsu universe for kind of our follow-up volumes.
That's awesome, man. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
truly.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
I
you
can tell
got
you
your own version of Common Rider. That's awesome.
yeah, we're not recording anymore. I'll show you the concept art. It's very fun.
Awesome.
It's exclusive for you. Thank you for your hard work. But
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
but I will say, so people know, like back in the Kickstarter stuff, those overages and those stretch goals, like they go,
Yep.
you know, especially after number 2 of Super Scouts, like, oh crap, I can like email this one ours, like, hey, still want to do that Common Rider thing? Yeah, we can start it right now. We can start it a year early. So it's been,
Wow.
I'm very fortunate in trying to use kind of all that goodwill that people send my way to kind of give it back to people, you know?
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and thank you for reaching out to us as well, because I didn't actually know about this book at all. So until you reached out to me and actually let me know about it, so that was awesome, man. So I'm
No,
so
my,
glad to know about it now, because I'm actually looking forward to like what you have coming up. So beyond these 3 issues, where do you have further plans for Super Scouts beyond these 3 issues
yeah.
in the next special coming out?
So I have the 2 shorts at the end of that are going to be launched in the volume 1 graphic novel launching next year. We'll introduce sort of our next big villain,
Yep.
and kind of tease the next volume. And I know the next one, it's funny enough, I know what volume 2 is. That's kind of outlined. I know what volume 4 and 5 are, but I haven't picked what volume 3 is yet. So I know
Okay.
the big giant intergalactic crusade that is to come.
Ooh.
But I'm having a lot of fun kind of bouncing through this universe, revisiting Common Rider, revisiting Ultraman, revisiting Beetleborgs and VR Troopers, and kind of all these flavors and all these distinct universes that I think are kind of ready to be re-explored, re-examined, sort of, again, homage and parody. How do we
Yes.
get to the core of it, make a big kind of version of it, but also kind of have a laugh at it and, you know, joke about what we love and, you know, are surprised about it. So
Yeah.
Super Scouts will
Awesome.
be coming out keep coming along.
Did you want to go ahead and hype up some of your other books as well?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
So, man, what's coming? So so this is the second Kickstarter, or sorry, Super Scouts number 3 is my second finale
Mhm.
I've launched this year. I launched the finale for the Axeman previously, which is a book about it's feel a little guilty publishing it right now, but I'm a giant nerd. And both my parents are doctors, so I grew up in like a very medical household here. You know, all my
Oh,
kitchen
yeah,
table
yeah, yeah.
conversations were
Sure.
patients and research and diseases. So it's a comic about a shadow section of the CDC that monitors all medical data, and they find a new illness has emerged. They try to cure it, and if they can't, they send a hitman known as the Axeman to take out patient 0 before the pandemic starts. So yes, I have a comic about a pandemic. It's awkward. It's a little. It's an eerie time to be putting it out, but I think it's a cool book, and at this point, it speaks the language that we're all very well versed in.
Yeah.
So the graphic novel collection of the whole 110 pages will be out next year.
Awesome.
The Crude Knight is a very weird version of King Arthur. They say King Arthur is box office poison. So I made King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table literal poison. They are this tainted oil that if it splashes people, they become possessed by the Knights of the Round Table and kind of go out. It's like a kind of an action horror book, kind of heavy metal, you know, sword, sorcery,
cool.
oil magic, which is weird. And then Prometheus is one of my biggest books that will be very excited. It's been over a year delayed because we really wanted to get our last issue right, but it's going to be a giant-sized finale launching next year. So people know the myth about the Titan Prometheus, stole the flame of knowledge from the gods, gave it to mortal man, and was imprisoned. In the comic, we find out this was true, and that all these years Prometheus has been locked away, kind of being tormented, thinking of himself as a martyr. And he finally gets out. Can't wait to, oh wow, what does humanity do with knowledge and potential? And he gets out and he sees our real world, pop culture, strife, you know, political frustrations, all these things happening in the world. So he realizes, holy shit, somebody has stolen the flame of knowledge. So he kind of goes on this revenge quest to get it back. So it's kind of like, I say, it's kind of like John of Wick meets God of War.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like a Vertigo book from like the 80s or something, you know. That sounds like, I mean, I can just imagine Prometheus just coming out and waking up and just being like, wow, they fucked it up. So
Yep, time to fix this.
Good job, humanity.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, you know, it's timely. So can I ask you too, like, do you have any major influences growing up? Like any writers, any comic book writers or novel writers that sort of influenced you?
I think I liked especially when I was younger, I didn't really follow celebrity in that way. Especially, you know, it's so funny trying to remember that, like, you know, way back when, like, I would play like Zelda, or I would like watch a
Yeah.
movie that like you can't really like jump online and go to like fan communities. Like I had no idea who wrote and drew a bunch of this stuff. I just knew I liked that, you know. Um, I think I've been raised. I think my sort of sensibilities are a real mix of three things: um, American comics for sure, definitely just manga and all that, anime and all that great stuff. Like I have some of my fondest memories of me and my older brother like trying to shake each other, like stay awake long enough to watch like Esquire and all these things on Adult Swim at like 2 a.m. when all the
Oh yeah.
crazy violent cartoons were on.
Yep.
One thing I'm really proud of too, a story I like to tell. It's funny now that I'm an adult. I don't know how this happened, but back in the day, we had a cable channel that we called the Japanese channel. That it was in, we had like color TV and everything. It was like the early 2000s, but the channel was in black and white, and it had no audio. But we would see Super Sentai shows. We would see Dragon Ball GT. We would see like all these like things that like I was like, wait, that's like Gohan, but he's an adult. And I was like, what the hell is this? So like, I mean, we would watch the Japanese channel all the time. Like some kids like flip through, cable trying to find porn, but we would just be like, oh shit, they have like the really cool cartoons, like Crazy Dragon thing, and like what the hell, like that's how I found out what Ultraman was. So I don't know what that channel was or like how I got it, but it's like divine intervention that for whatever reason is on that little TV in my bedroom. And then the other big thing is I'm from like I grew up honestly going to public school, just like had a little brother that I played Yu-Gi-Oh and did all that stuff with. So like that's why a lot of this stuff is trying to like kind of keep it grounded and like kind of keep it real.
Yeah.
Because I think to me as a kid, like so much of it was real that they can feel like real people and then still think the best thing for me to do right now is put on this helmet, pick up this giant sword, and go beat somebody up. So I think you can. I really think you can have your cake and eat it too. Because I just love this stuff. So I'm happy to kind of be a part of it and move the ball forward.
Awesome. All right. And do you have any advice that you would give to people who want to enter into the comics industry or start creating their own books, let's say?
Start now. Always start now. The biggest thing I would say is make your books, make your art. People want to read your stuff. My first comic I ever launched was called Lonesomes. It was about these little Pokemon-looking monsters that would reveal themselves to lonely people. So on the worst day of your life, when things really get bad, you might look out your window and see like this little, Pikachu thing. He'll take you on it, and he'll take you on an adventure. So it's bad news that the Lonesome's there, but he'll help you find it for good. Yeah, thank you. But like, it's emo Pokemon, right? Like
that's
such
a great idea, though. Honestly, I could use that some days. When I'm feeling really bad, I would love to look outside. Well, I mean, I guess that's why we have dogs and cats.
Sure. But then some will be able to breathe fire and evolve and whatever. But
well, there you go.
But the point is like make your stuff, man. Emo Pokemon's as specific as it gets, and I've shipped it to over 20 countries around the world. Total strangers, like get out there and do your thing. Especially like kind of in this world that I think with Instagram and the internet and stuff, it makes us all a little more insular. That creative echo chamber and all these things.
Yeah, totally.
If you have influence and you like them, put it out there. Help stir the pot. Help people see things they wouldn't see. There's people who picked up my King Arthur book and you're like, you know what? I guess I'll take a chance on this Power Rangers thing. Maybe that person now is going to check out Kamen Rider. Maybe they're going to check out Die Ranger or something like that. So I hear this interview and we talk about it. But
totally.
It's a big world, but it's an even bigger fictional world. It's a huge fictional universe. What I love is subgenre. That's why all my books have all these kind of different characters and visuals in them. So if there's something that rocks your world and it rings your bell, I guarantee it's gonna do it for somebody else too. So put it out there. Make your thing. If I did it, you can do it. Trust me. I'm so bad at the internet, marketing, and social media. Like it's the worst.
Dude, same here, man. I just like, launching the website that we have in the podcast that we have, it's seen some growth lately, which is nice. And that's thanks to, we had an interview with Amy Acker, who's an actress from Angel and stuff like that. So,
oh, cool.
So we had some growth from that. And I think we're maintaining that. And I think it's all through like the people that I work with that help me out with the site and especially through them. And just like keeping the content flowing, and just keeping on and trying to do it. And then you make connections like we have, and like, with the Starlight comic book guys and the writer of Tart and like that comic as well. So I'm finding a lot of friends, actually, a lot of people that I would consider like people like you who are just great artists and great writers and who are inspiring me because I've always wanted to write a comic too. And I just never had the time you know.
Sure.
So hopefully someday in the future, hopefully maybe I'll just be on your show or something, or we can
Yeah,
talk, you know,
truly.
we can talk
Yeah,
about
please.
our own comics and stuff like that.
No, but that's
Um,
I think the key thing too you said is once you get into it, like
yeah,
interacting with Bruno or any of my artists, it's the best. It's
it's the
so
best,
fun.
man.
I'm sure
Yeah,
you know too. When you're vibing and you're talking to your engineer, you're talking to your audio marketing people, like
yeah,
you can just get over it's that inertia, that energy to get you moving.
yeah,
If you can just get out of bed in the morning, you can do anything. But that first throwing off those blankets hurts, man. It's
it
tough.
does, man. Especially now, especially when you just don't feel like it, or you know,
Sure.
things are so messed up in the world right now. But hopefully they'll get better very soon.
Yeah.
I hope so. So one, actually, not my last question, but my penultimate question to you is, what are some of the current books that you're enjoying right now?
What am I reading right now? I'm reading a lot of manga, I'll be honest.
Nice.
Because I really like going back. I love that feeling like I'm a purist. I love sitting with like 10 volumes or something and just
Yeah,
so
just
I'm super into Overlord. I'm a big isekai fan, so like I've really been enjoying Overlord. I'm actually reading Hellboy for the first time.
oh,
Um,
cool. Yeah,
Hellboy, you know, for years, my one of my goals is at this point, because my quarantine TV show has been Battlestar Galactica, which the reason is at this point I can go to a comic shop and I can look at almost anything in the store and kind of know what it is, like between like Ultraman and Kamen Rider and manga and TV shows, most stuff.
yeah,
But you know, Hellboy is one of those things I kind of knew about, and I knew people love it, obviously the movies. But wow, that book is so awesome. The BPRD is beautiful.
yes,
Easily 20 years ahead of its time. The way it's paneled, the
oh
way
yeah,
they do character, the way they build these arcs, like really just epic stuff. If you ever like, you know, because it's not even like super horror stuff, quite frankly. I think trying to make it a horror thing kind of what was the wrong stuff the movies made. It kind of felt like the good stuff feels a little bit like Men in Black or Ghostbusters. It's kind of this like kooky team that kind of like goes in to take care of some of these supernatural threats and stuff.
yeah,
Um,
definitely, yeah.
so I've been bouncing between the Hellboy universe and then some different manga stuff. And then my other big undertaking is I've never understood, because I love Full Metal Alchemist, I love Naruto. I've never understood One Piece. So I'm about 18 volumes in the One Piece.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
It's starting to win me over. I'm still a little hesitant, but I'm gonna give it to 35. So I pulled the trigger on a Craigslist big stack of books. So we'll give One Piece a big shot. I'm kind of bouncing between. You know, it's like everybody else finally getting through that to read list that's been, you know, giant stack in my closet for
same here.
Too long.
Same
what are you
here.
reading?
I have oh my god, I have such a huge stack of books right now. I'm trying to get through I'm actually going to just start reading the Dark Knight's death metal thing that Scott Snyder's doing, the Batman thing, or the multiverse thing that they're doing. I've been reading a lot of like X-Men stuff because I've been trying to keep up with that, the Jonathan Hickman stuff that they've been doing. So I'm a little bit more American comics focused, but
Sure.
but I mean, yeah, it's been fun, man. And I've my friend who helps me out with the podcast and stuff, he's been telling me to read like Spider-Man and Daredevil right now because he said they're really good. So
yeah,
I've
been like
catch
Daredevil
up on
a
that.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say go for it. But Nick Spencer's great too. That Spider-Man, that's going to be one rainy day I'll catch up on
yeah, same here. Same here. Try to keep the podcast going, the website going, and read some comics at the same time, and play some video games at the same time. So
got it.
I've been playing. I've actually gone back because you know Mass Effect is one of my favorite sort of trilogies and stuff. So I've been going back to play. Yeah, I love all three of them. But I'm not playing the original three. I'm playing actually Andromeda right now.
Oh, okay.
Which is like the one that came out and got all the bad reviews. But I'm trying to give it another shot and then see what I think of it. And so far, it's pretty good. It's not bad. You know, I think they made some patches to it, and they sort of patched it, made it play a little bit better. So that's good.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so my last question to you is, what message do you want to send into the world with your work on Super Scouts and all your other work? Not to get too deep.
No, please, not at all. I think my biggest, it's a great question. I don't think anyone's ever actually asked me that before. 5 years of doing Kickstarters. That's cool. I think one of my biggest goals is, again, with doing all the different genres, is that fictional landscape is massive. It's a huge, it's a big world. You know, I'm very lucky. I've gotten to go international. I spent 3 weeks in Japan. I've been to Europe and England and Scotland and stuff like that. So you don't really know how big the world is until you get out and travel.
It's true.
But similarly, there's something I find like very inspiring is how big that fictional world is. There's so many great stories and universes, and what I love is that language that we as nerds kind of get to share.
Yeah.
That like if I say to you, help me write, a sequel to Super Scouts, you're gonna know top of your head 10 things that have to happen, right? Like you're just gonna know because that's this world that we as nerds have propagated. We built it out and we've shared it with each other. We've perpetuated it and made it happen. I grew up on 30 acres here in very rural Pennsylvania. Spent a lot of time by myself as a kid.
Yeah.
So that's why I've always loved, and I remember those feelings of like opening these books and be like, wait, holy shit. This is the 10th Doctor Who. So there's been 9 ones before it, and the next one's already been announced. And like there's these huge universes, this big mythology. I think, it's so easy to be sedentary and insular and look into yourself and spend all this time in sort of the web or the knot that is sort of your immediate life experience. So I just try to, with all my books, just try to expand kind of that worldview. What if there's these, on your worst day, this crazy little monster is going to come find you? What would your monster look like? Because everybody's will look different. And what if they all came from the same place? What would that say about all of us? Trying to kind of make that narrative lens a little bigger and build out that little imaginative land. Because that creative landscape, that's I think where we all spend most of our time hanging out. Like it's work to a certain degree, but it's that little stuff that's I think what you're going to carry with you. And I think that's what's really going to inspire you. That's that little thing that puts you a little spring in your step when when you walk through a door and it closes behind you at the right second, you're like, just did some James Bond shit right now, right? Like that's like that little push. That's that little bit of wind beneath your wings, man. It's that I think it's our job to kind of assign purpose to life. So that's for me, trying to paint that big visual picture for people, try to add some flavors and some color to it, and build out that fictional world a little bit so it's a place that people can gather and kind of relish. That's my goal.
I love it. That's a great answer, man. Thank you so much.
You.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show, Ryan. This has been a great conversation. I learned a lot actually from you, and so we hope for the best for Super Scouts, and of course it's already funded, so hope for more, and just keep it going. And I will be reading it to be sure. So, where can people pick up your past works? Like, is it all just basically through like BackerKit or through like your imprints as well, your Plastic Sword Press?
Yeah, best place to keep up with me is Instagram at Plastic Sword Press, or on Facebook if you still have a Facebook. Also, facebook.com/Plastic Sword Press. Awesome. I pretty much run a Kickstarter like every 2 to 3 months. That always has my entire back catalog sort of available, and physical and digital, because I try to make things as cheap as possible for people just to get some work out there. If there's anything you're missing, trying to fill out a collection, you can always DM me and we can get the books in your hands.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I will do so actually, because I really want to read Lonesomes.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good book. That sounds like it's right up my alley. So awesome, cool, man. Thank you so much. And where can people, okay, so you pretty much said where people can find you online. Can we find you anywhere else online as well, like on Twitter or?
Yeah, Twitter, I'm at Mr. Ryan Comics, MrRyanComics. I used to teach and my name was Mr. Ryan. So that was my Twitter name on there. But Instagram is where you'll be able to see all the art for kind of what I'm plugging away with and what I'm working on.
Okay.
And Facebook, the other thing is if anybody's bored, the Facebook page has the first issue of all my series available for free. So if you're up late, doom scrolling, and you can't sleep, hop on over to the Facebook page, and at least you can look at some cool art.
Oh, you know me, man. I'm always doing that. I'm always up late here. All right. So you guys can find us at renegadepopculture.com. You can also find us at our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/RPC42. You can find me on Instagram at Neoplasmic24. And on Twitter and Facebook, our official pages are at Ren Pop Culture, REN Pop Culture. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a special episode of RPC Capes, and we will see you guys next time.